Hello and welcome to a new edition of Lantern Sports Now. All 32 NFL teams were represented at Ohio State's Pro Day Thursday afternoon. 17 Buckeyes participated in interviews and drills for more than 140 NFL reps at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. Bill Belichick, Mike Tomlin, Marvin Lewis, Matt Patricia, and Mike Zimmer were the 5 NFL head coaches on hand among an array of general managers, scouts, and coaches. Potential first-round draft pick Denzel Ward looked to meet high expectations. After an impressive time on the 40-yard dash at the Combine, Ward focused on drills Thursday. Former Ohio State safeties Damon Webb and Eric Smith performed alongside him. After falling short of an invite to the 2018 NFL Combine, former Ohio State defensive tackle Tracy Sprinkle sought to make a good impression on coaches and scouts in the audience. Among Sprinkle were defensive linemen Sam Hubbard, Jalen Holmes, and Tyquan Lewis. Former Buckeyes quarterback J.T. Barrett threw a combination of short and deep passes Thursday afternoon. Barrett said that he is focused on showing coaches who he really is as a player and a person.
I'm not trying to be, somebody else. I want to be myself because that's at the end of the day, that's who you're gonna get. You're gonna get J.T. Barrett like this all day, every day. I'm not trying to show you somebody that I'm not, and then when I get there, change, because then it'll be like, well, who's this guy? You know what I'm saying? So being myself and being confident, encouraging guys, commanding huddles, throwing the ball, having confidence out there, and things that I have in my skill set. So at the end of the day, that's all I could do, and that's what I try to do today.
ESPN's Jemele Hill was on campus as a part of OUAB's Your Voice, Your Vision Week, and we were able to sit down with her for an exclusive interview.
Well, thank you again for coming in and talking with us today. You're here visiting Ohio State with the Your Voice, Your Vision week that's going on this week. And I don't know if you wanted to maybe talk a little bit about what exactly that might be about, what you're here for.
Well, I think at least, based off the information I was given about what this week means is that, obviously there's a lot of social issues going around right now, many of which are connected to sports. And so this is an opportunity for students to have open dialogue, and certainly given my experience with certain social issues, that it seemed kind of like a perfect fit, and it made all the sense in the world for me to come to the Ohio State University.
Now, one of the other things that you've been pretty vocal about is the whole athletes need to stick to sports movement, I guess, that's going on in some places. How important is it for athletes, especially the most prominent ones, to use the platform they have in the sports world to go out and try to create some sort of social, political changes?
The way I look at it is like this. It's not a requirement, because everybody isn't capable, suited, or has the desire to actually do it. But for those that do, I think we need to create avenues and lanes for them to do it. Because people, the stick to sports crowd, who I think is generally intellectually lazy, that they have to keep in mind that these are full citizens. These are not, they're not wearing basketball uniforms 24 hours a day. They pay taxes, they have children, they're invested in education and all the same issues the rest of us are invested in. So we're basically saying because of you dribble, or because you throw a football or whatever, that somehow excludes you from joining conversations that the rest of the nation is having. And many times in sports, there's so many examples where sports has actually been ahead of society and been a model for society. I mean, Jackie Robinson integrated Major League Baseball in 1947. And the Civil Rights Act didn't come to 1965. So sports was already ahead in that regard. And I think now what I tend to find is the people who tell athletes to stick to sports or to shut up and dribble is because they don't like what they say. Because when it's an athlete that does say something that they agree with, they don't say that then. And so I just find the entire premise usually to be rooted in more disagreement, as opposed to literally wanting athletes to be quiet. And sometimes it depends on what the issue is, because if you're going to say stick to sports all the way. So that means that cancer drives and breast cancer awareness and domestic violence awareness, that means that's not sticking to sports either. But that's okay, and it should be. So I'm not saying that there's not room to discuss those issues. They're very important, and if athletes or sports can do something to bring awareness to that, that's critical. But you don't hear that then. It's only with issues that make people a little uncomfortable, where they don't know what side to pick, or they have their own issues with what's being said. I've always said that's the nature of the the protests that occurred in the NFL. It was never about the method. It was always about the fact that people didn't believe in what they were protesting about.
And you've received a lot of criticism, especially on Twitter, for being very vocal about the things that you believe in. But you've stated that you don't plan to curb your opinions, that you stand by a lot of the things that you've said. How do you continue to move forward despite the backlash that you receive?
Well, for me, it boils down to something very simple. So it's going to be Thursday in a couple days. You know what happens on Thursday? I get paid. That's what happens. So that makes it easier to deal with. And until one of those tweets are from Bob Iger or the new president of our company, Jimmy Bedaro, then it doesn't matter what they think. I mean, it matters in the sense that we're in the business of serving sports fans. That's what ESPN does. So your opinion matters to a degree. Your personal opinion about me doesn't matter at all. And that's not something that I developed overnight. That is something that took time. I mean, again, I'm 20 years in, but I've been getting hate mail so long. I mean, I've been getting this since college. So unfortunately, I'm very practiced at how to deal with it.
Yeah. Now we're gonna get a little bit off of the heavy sports stuff. You're pretty big into movies, from what I understand.
Am. Yeah.
Right now, what is your favorite movie that has come out recently? And if you had to pick one movie that you're excited for moving forward, what would that be?
This is such an easy question. Black Panther, which I've seen twice. Plan to see it more. That's my favorite movie of the moment.
Really good.
And of course, I'm looking forward to Infinity Wars. Like, it's just natural. Yeah. I've seen all of the Marvel movies. I grew up reading comic books, so to actually work for a company that owns Marvel is pretty amazing as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, I mean, I've debated about whether or not Black Panther is the best Marvel movie. It feels like it is, but I don't know. You know, once I start thinking about Civil War, Winter Soldier, like I don't want to go fourth level nerd on you here, but like once I start thinking about all of those, it's hard to come up with a top 5 for Marvel, because since they've done such a good job.
Yeah, thank you again for taking the time with us. Wish you all the best with the Undefeated moving forward.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
That's all we have for you this week on Lantern Sports Now. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Snapchat and Twitter. Thanks for tuning in, and see you next week.